there's one mistake many manufacturers are making right now, is that they're not listening to their customers. Americans are demanding small pickup trucks. They want affordable pickup trucks. And Ford is the only one listening right now. Yes, you could say the Hyundai Santa Cruz, but you look at the sales figures and everyone is just buying the Maverick. In fact, the Maverick sales figures for 2024 almost matched the Toyota Tacoma, which may or may not be saying much, because look at the Tacoma. They dropped the V6 with a Turbo 4 and everyone's complaining about it. But it seems as though a Turbo 4 is exactly what buyers are looking for at around $30,000. In today's video, we're going to check out what the 2025 Maverick has to offer. There's some new looks, there's some new interior technology, and also, which we're not going to be talking about today, there's new packages and trims, which makes this pickup actually quite exciting here, between $30,000 and $40,000. And in today's video, we're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a test drive, and see why, if you are looking for a small utility vehicle, maybe taking a look at the Ford Maverick might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Acton Ford in Acton, Massachusetts for letting you come down here to check out the 2025 Ford Maverick. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Ford inventory. So as always, let's begin with pricing. For 2025 with the XLT, you're looking at a starting cost of right around $29,500. Now, that is a bit of a price hike compared to last year, and that's not even factoring in the tariffs and how that might play a role in the pricing as well. But even at $30,000, this vehicle provides a lot of value. And just keep in mind here with the pickup truck market in general, if you're looking at a Tacoma, a Frontier, a Ranger, you could be spending $35,000, $45,000, possibly $50,000. And if you don't want to spend over $30,000, you don't want to have a vehicle the size of a Tacoma or Ranger, the Maverick really is your only alternative here, and it's a great alternative. Now, some of you might be saying, but what about that Hyundai Santa Cruz? When you take a look at those sales figures, it's clear to me that everyone wants the Ford Maverick, and they're looking for a vehicle such as this, because you're going to have the capability, the utility, the ruggedness, and the payload capacity and towing capacity at around $30,000 that makes it really a no-brainer. Now, for 2025, you're probably wondering, all right, what is new here for this model? Because I see new redesigned headlights, but what else is there for me to enjoy and be excited about? Well, you're right, because up front you are going to have those new LED headlights, but also a new grille design as well, giving you a sportier appearance to this vehicle. Now, unfortunately, with the XLT, you don't get the signature daytime running lights. You're going to have that on higher trims. So if you do have deeper pockets, you want to spend close to $40,000, I would say go with the higher trim for 2025, making this pickup look really upscale and a bit more unique in the lineup as well. Now, outside of that, though, for the front fascia, nothing really is too much different here. You are going to have the cladding for the lower portion of the front bumper, and the overall design and body lines haven't changed either. So for a very popular pickup truck like this, Ford kept things very casual and conservative, which is pretty good for a pickup truck in this market, especially at around $30,000. And as you make your way over the side profile, our model is sitting on 17-inch aluminum alloy wheels. To me, this would be the choice out of the XLT, because 19s are optional, and I have to say here with the Maverick, this suspension is a bit rough and rugged. This is not going to be a luxurious pickup truck. This is not going to be a soft pickup truck when you are driving on those weekday commutes. The 17s will help minimize the road noise and also the harshness with that stiffer suspension. So keep all of that in mind. Although I will say, though, the 19s do give you more of a sportier and dynamic appearance. So if you're looking for that out of your pickup, you might want to go with that optional package. Now, no surprises here for the XLT. You're not going to receive body color match side mirror caps or turn signal indicators. Now, our model does not have blind spot detection, but it is available for this trim. Then as you make your way around to the back with the Maverick, nothing's new here aesthetically. This happens all the time in this market because, let's be honest, it's a pickup truck. You don't need to change the tail lamps or anything else for the aesthetics of this model. So this mid-cycle refresh centers mostly around the front fascia, the interior, and maybe even the wheel packages as well. But outside of that, nothing's different here in regards to its design. However, there is a few things I want to point out here about the XLT. One being the fact that you are going to have LED tail lamps to match the LED headlights. Now, that is not available on the XL, so keep that in mind if you want a modern looking pickup. But I think more importantly, though, is this cargo bed, or more importantly, the tailgate. With the XLT, it's power locking. That provides a lot of convenience. So when you are on those work sites, or maybe just after a long day at work, you don't have to come around and manually lock this tailgate. You can just use the key fob. That is great to see. But more importantly here with the Maverick, and for a vehicle in this market, is its capability. And with the Turbo 4 that we have here today, you're going to have a payload capacity of 1,500 pounds out of this 4.5-foot cargo bed, which should be more than adequate for a vehicle at around $30,000, but also a towing capacity of 4,000 pounds. Now, I know what you're going to be saying, but Mike, for about $5,000 more, I can get a bigger pickup truck with more payload capacity, more towing capacity. But yes, that's $5,000 more, and if you're just looking for a work truck, with the XL, you're spending around 27 grand. So you're saving a lot of money here with the Maverick, which is why this particular pickup has become very popular in the US. Taking a quick peek under the hood for our 2025 Ford Maverick, we have the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, giving us 238 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, just like last year, a 2.5-liter hybrid 4-cylinder is available, so if you're looking for efficiency on top of the utility, you can do so for sure for 2025. Now, there is a minor decrease in power out of this engine, but I don't think a lot of you are going to notice the difference. If you're someone looking for a vehicle that is capable, that is somewhat rugged, but also under $30,000, you have that here with the XLT. And also, better yet, even though this engine does put out a bit less power, you're not missing out on that payload and towing capacity. So I think everything should even out at the end of the day. But more importantly is that fuel efficiency. And with the XLT and this 2-liter turbo, you're looking at right around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 30 miles per gallon on the highway with the available all-wheel drive system, which really isn't that bad. If you factor in what other larger pickup trucks are giving you right now, even for the Toyota Tacoma with that Turbo 4, this is far and away more efficient. Hopping inside the XLT we have today, this is more of a work truck configuration, but still giving you some extra creature comforts and amenities that you might not find out of the XL. With this particular trim though, you can go all out and make it a great family-friendly pickup and also a great daily driver. Whereas the model you have today, yes, a bit more comfortable than that XL and also a great companion if you are going to those construction sites or visiting clients. But even as a daily driver, I think you are going to find yourself rather impressed with the driving environment. So up front with these seats, they are going to be manually adjustable for both the driver and passenger. Available is heated front seats and a power driver seat. We'll talk about this in a minute. In regards to the comfort factor, there's a lot of cushioning here for the bottoms and backs of these seats. Bolstering and support isn't going to be too aggressive, which is to be expected out of a pickup at around $30,000. Now, unfortunately, since there isn't a lot of competitors, we really can't compare this to anything. We can't say, well, the Maverick is falling behind in this regard or leading in this category. But I do think for those of you who are very familiar with vehicles at around $30,000 and for utility vehicles, this should be more than adequate for sure. Now, for 2025, everything centers around the technology, and the Maverick is becoming more tech focused, which is why I think a lot of people are going to really be drawn in to this model. So in front of you will be a full digital gauge cluster here, and just like every other Ford in the lineup, you are going to have some buttons on the right side of the steering wheel to scroll through some information and customize what you see from this screen. So from here through your menu layout, you can go through My View, your trip and economy, towing, status information, vehicle maintenance, also audio and vehicle settings. And you can scroll through all this on your own time and at your own discretion. But one thing I do like here though is that you are going to have a digital speedometer, and it's also from here where you can check out your fuel economy statistics. So you are receiving a lot to work with here. Some manufacturers don't go this in depth on their digital displays. So if you're someone who is tech focused and you wanted that technology at your fingertips, you can have that here with the Maverick. Now, in regards to the steering wheel, you are going to have some aggressive 10 and 2 and firm 9 and 3 grips. But with the XLT we have today, the steering wheel is not heated, but that is available through that optional package. So a lot to dive into with that XLT Lux package. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, taking a look at the user interface, this is a new touchscreen with Ford's Sync 4 user interface, which is pretty much the same layout that we're now seeing in the rest of the lineup, and it is mimicking a lot of Android-based head units out there, which I think is actually a little bit more easy to use compared to where we were just about 5 years ago. At the bottom of the screen will be your buttons for your climate control settings, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. I know some of you are going to be saying, oh no, no more physical buttons for that climate control. That makes me really sad. But what Ford is doing here, like a lot of manufacturers, they're making it a bit easier to access the climate control. So I think you will get acclimated with this very quickly. Now, this screen is actually very easy to use, and it's also close within arm's reach. On the right side of the screen will be quick access icons to get into different menus efficiently, such as your settings tab, features, and apps. All this is within arm's reach, and also better yet, the resolution and responsiveness is quite good in this market for $30,000. So Ford is doing a lot of work here with the Sync 4. Better yet though, for 2025, Ford has now thrown in wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. So that is great to see here for this model, and I know a lot of you are definitely going to appreciate that for sure. Now, when you place the XLT in reverse, you are going to have only one camera angle, and it's a rear backup camera with trajectory, but you can go with a wide angle view, giving you better visibility when you are backing out of tight spots or you're parking in a garage. So that's really great to see, but also that's pretty much standard for this market. Now, continuing on beneath the head unit, you will find a single row of buttons for your volume knob, your tuning. You can also go with the minimal layout for that infotainment system, then of course your hazards and max AC. So everything is pretty straightforward here. There's not a lot of physical buttons, and even with the infotainment system and technology, it's not going to be too complicated or super in-depth. Beneath that, you will find some storage compartments for a couple smartphones, wallets, or other smaller items. Then for the center console itself, you're going to have your gear selector here. As always, it's a dial. We see a lot of that in the Ford lineup. That maximizes the interior space up front. Next to that will be your two cup holders, your electronic parking brake, your auto start stop button, your traction control on and off switch. Then for the center storage compartment, there is plenty of room for smaller items. It's actually quite deep here, which is a bit of a surprise out of a vehicle in this segment. So you can store some smaller tech gadgets or maybe even a small water bottle or two, which is great to see. Then to round out the front seating area, optional is a power moonroof. Now, I think it's only worth going with the power moonroof if you go with the one important package available for the 2025 XLT, and that's the Lux package. Let's talk about it. Now, for $1,890, you are going to receive an 8-way power adjustable driver's seat, although the passenger side will be manually adjustable. You're going to have heated outside mirrors with gloss black side mirror caps, giving you a two-tone look, and also I think gives this vehicle more of an upscale appearance. LED box lighting, heated front seats, a heated soft vinyl wrap steering wheel, which would be nice to have here for our model, and then lastly, a remote start system, which would be huge if you live in colder regions of the US. Now, on top of that, you can go with the Ford Co-Pilot 360 Assist package for $795. Now, this gives you a long list of safety features, but the one thing that really draws my attention is that blind spot detection and rear cross traffic alert. But then also you have lane keep assist, and that just gives you a lot more features to work with and a lot more safety, which I think is definitely valuable to this model. So if you want to maximize safety for $800, definitely go for it. And then also if you want the creature comforts and amenities, go with that Lux package for $1,800 and $1,900, which I think really elevates the XLT in the lineup. Now, for passengers in the second row, you got to temper your expectations here because this is a small pickup. This is not a Ford F-150. This is not a Ford Ranger, although I do think some of you might be impressed here with this pickup. Now, passengers are going to receive right around 37 inches of legroom. Now, that would be very similar to a smaller subcompact crossover, maybe even some smaller compact crossovers. So I do think you can squeeze in taller passengers in the back, and also, of course, smaller kids, adding on to that versatility. Better yet, with the higher roofline, I don't think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner. Now, this seat has been adjusted in front of me all the way back and somewhat on a recline, and I have a few inches of legroom remaining here. So this is not going to be a vehicle that you're going to be feeling cramped or claustrophobic. This is actually pretty impressive here. And again, you got to keep in mind that this market is very small. There's only one other option out there. So you're forced to spend $35,000, $40,000 for a Frontier or Tacoma, whereas this right here is giving you a lot more of that practicality that you're definitely going to be looking for at around $30,000. So I think this is more than enough for sure. Now, unlike the F-150 and the Ranger, I don't think you'll be squeezing in a third person in the center. That will be quite the squeeze because, for one, you'll be fighting for that shoulder room. But then also, there is an aggressive center hump here, which will be taking away from that legroom. So I think it's best if you only have two people in the back. Now, for our model, we do have two USB-C inputs, but that is it. No center-mounted air vents. Am I surprised? No, not at all. But I am surprised that you do receive a center armrest with two cup holders. And then at the interior space for the second row was enough, beneath the second row seats, you are going to have some storage compartments here for some smaller items. I mean, these are rather deep. I don't know if it shows on camera. You could easily store a toolbox here, possibly a couple camera bags if you're like me and you do feature videos of brand new vehicles. There's actually a lot of versatility and practicality inside the cab of the Maverick. The Ford Maverick is one of those vehicles on the market where its popularity is because of what it is, and not really for the features that it provides or the driving experience it's going to exhibit. Because, for one, this is a very small market. It only goes head-to-head with the Hyundai Santa Cruz. But really, the barrier to entry, or the barrier to make this vehicle successful, is actually quite low because you don't have Toyota in this market, Nissan's not in this market, and the fact that Ford is all you have here makes the Maverick right off the bat the best choice that you have at around $30,000. Well, we can laugh and make fun of the Hyundai Santa Cruz and say, well, it's basically a Hyundai Tucson with a cargo bed. For Ford, with the Maverick, to make this pickup feel like a true, authentic pickup is pretty impressive because it is built on the same platform as the Ford Escape and Ford Bronco. And what they've done here with the suspension, it's actually very firm. And because of that firmness, that's why I said earlier on in this video, you might want to stay clear of those 19s. The 17s do a pretty good job here minimizing the harshness when you're going over the bumps and imperfections. But even as a daily driver and what this vehicle is offering at such an affordable price point, you're still receiving a vehicle that feels pretty composed on the roadways while also still being somewhat fun. Sure, we do notice a slight decrease in horsepower here with this Turbo 4, but it's really not going to make that big of a difference. This pickup is very spry and peppy, and also thanks to that stiff suspension, you also have a decently weighted steering here that gives you some fun in the corners when you are on some winding back roads. And the fact that this isn't a pickup that leaves a lot more to be desired in regards to the driving experience, driving dynamics, even the driving environment does go a long way. And what Ford has done here for 2025 with a new infotainment system, you have a full digital gauge cluster, even these seats. Now, of course, you can go higher up in the trim levels, receiving higher quality seat material, and also with the XLT luxury package, you're getting those extra creature comforts and amenities. But still, though, for $30,000, I mean, this is a great work pickup and also a great daily driver, in my opinion. Now, selfishly, I do wish there were more competitors in this market because then I could take a deeper dive into what the Ford Maverick needs to change up, and also, is this a class leader? I think if you're comparing this to a Toyota Tacoma or Nissan Frontier, possibly even a Ford Ranger, which you might not be doing, although maybe you're on a stricter budget and you're just weighing your options here, I think at $30,000, you're getting a better value compared to a Toyota Tacoma. And also with that Tacoma, you have a Turbo 4. So pretty much like a similar engine here. Also, I think it's the fuel economy as well. 22 miles per gallon on the city, 30 miles per gallon on the highway with the Turbo 4. Obviously, the hybrid takes things one step further with a combined average of like 42 miles per gallon. So you're getting a lot of efficiency here. What this pickup offers is pretty much everything under one roof in this particular market, and for those of you who need a utility vehicle. For those of you who are new to the Ford Maverick and you're thinking, all right, it looks small, it looks somewhat car-like here, does it drive car-like? Not really. It does exhibit crossover-like tendencies with its handling and maneuverability. Seat positioning wise, though, you do sit pretty high up in this vehicle, giving you an authentic pickup truck feel. Now, again, this is not going to feel like an F-150 or Ford Ranger, especially the new Ford Ranger. However, it's still going to give you the rugged attributes that you would be looking for. And for those of you who are demanding that style of driving in your next pickup, you at least have that here with the Maverick. Now, also in regards to overall vision being behind the wheel of this pickup, you have a nice panoramic view. The A-pillars are somewhat somewhat thin, although in certain situations you might be dealing with some blind spots when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are rather small, but I can see what's my blind spots in the lane next to me. And then looking out back, nice clear view. So a lot of visibility here, and that's helped out with the seat positioning as well. I mean, this gives you a lot of safety, and of course gives you the rugged and pickup truck qualities that you are probably demanding at around $30,000. Now, the 8-speed automatic transmission, the gear shifts are pretty good when you are on some winding back roads or entering highways, passing slower drivers. I do think it's somewhat clunky though when you are in the city or in stop and go traffic, but you kind of expect that here in this market. So that's not something I'm going to say is a critique or a negative. Now, for those of you who are cross-shopping this with the Hyundai Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz is a typical or stereotypical ute because it is going to feel like a Hyundai Tucson. You see that with the design, you see that with the interior. The Ford Maverick, on the other hand, you know, this feels more like a rugged pickup, and it doesn't have the same qualities or attributes or persona as the Ford Bronco or Ford Escape. It doesn't drive like a Ford Escape either in that regard, because the Ford Escape does have lighter and looser steering, whereas the Maverick is a bit tighter, and you feel that. And that also translates to the suspension and chassis. It's kind of its own entity, despite the fact that it does share platforms with some of its siblings. But I do like the fact that even though this is a utility and work truck, and it might not be seen as the ideal daily driver or family hauler, its practicality, interior space, even on-road mannerisms, and then obviously the performance makes it, to me, a fun little pickup. And while I do think the claim could be made that this isn't the best pickup truck we could receive in the small pickup truck market, the Maverick is all you got. And for 2025, maybe the Maverick is all you really need. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Ford Maverick XLT. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.